say peace and blessings to everyone. I want to thank everyone for being here, and I'd like to thank, in particular, the Black History Month Committee, that I understand is a kind of a congregation of different people in the court system, for having the vision and initiative, not just to study and celebrate history, but to make it. So we want to give them a hand, please. Yeah. I want to also thank the people from Equal Access to Justice for co-sponsoring this event. Wherever you are, we want to give you thanks. Please give them a hand. And the debonair gentleman sitting in the front over here, the counselor. I want to thank my brother and friend and former Syracuse University classmate, Attorney Jason Foy, for recommending me for this particular speech. Thank you. So this riddle has 5 components, 5 questions. And each one of these questions has the same answer. And it's one word, that's all I can tell you. Right? So I'm gonna read it once, I'm gonna say it again, I'm gonna give you about a minute, then I'm gonna see who would like to volunteer and answer. And if you know the answer, please don't shout it out. Okay? All right. What is greater than God? More evil than the devil? Rich people need it, poor people have it, and bitterness accomplishes it. Let that sit in for a minute. While you're thinking, I'm gonna say it one more time. What is greater than God, more evil than the devil? Rich people need it, poor people have it, presumably, and bitterness accomplishes it. And it's the same answer, and it's one word. Does anyone know what that might be? Any hands want to go up and give me? Yes, sir.
Nothing.
Okay. Nothing. Let me think about that. That might be right. I'm going to hold that for a minute. Anyone else? He says it's the word nothing. Anyone else? No one? This gentleman is right. Give him a round of applause. Remember, it's a riddle. It's a riddle, so it's metaphorical. What's greater than God? Nothing. What's more evil than the devil? Nothing. Presumably, rich people need nothing. Presumably, poor people have nothing. And definitely, bitterness accomplishes nothing. All right? I think this riddle is important because it has this theme of nothingness. That's very important. It's fitting because it coincides with many people's perception of black people and black history. And I can name a whole bunch of other people in their history as well. Nothing. Nothing worth teaching, remembering, nothing worth protecting, or acknowledging. And while I'm sure no one in this space harbors such backwards thinking, millions of people in this country and billions of people in this world do. I hope that I will help you see that this insidious lie of equating blackness with nothingness is precisely one of the reasons that events like this in Black History Month are so important, because they disrupt that type of thinking. And now that we've had a little practice with riddles, I want to give you one more. But this riddle is a little more complex. The questions are more serious in nature, and there are questions that, to use today's lingo, may trigger some degree of sadness, maybe even a little bit of anger. But just like responsible lovers, chiropractors, and dentists, I promise you, I'll be gentle. This second riddle, like the prior one, has several questions. All have one answer, one word answer. And maybe somebody here will guess that before I finish the presentation. But here's the question, and this is very important. I need your participation. I need you to actually use your imagination and go somewhere with me. I'm going to ask everyone in this room, regardless of your background, regardless of your political persuasion, your spiritual beliefs, to step into a particular perspective. Whether this describes your lived experience or not, or your beliefs, I want you to imagine being a black man or woman. Can you do that for me? Yeah. Imagine that you're a black man or woman. For some of you, I think that's going to be pretty easy. But, and I want you to go a little further. I want you to also imagine that you live in a country whose policies, practices, and institutions have neglected and mistreated your people for the entire 250 years of its existence. Remember, this is all a figment of our imagination. So let's begin. Here are the rhetorical questions, my polite way of saying, please don't answer out loud. How do you affirm your humanity in a society that has historically portrayed you and regards you as ugly, deviant, delinquent, and disposable? How do you maintain a productive, optimistic, ambitious spirit when you're called ugly names? So shut up, go in the back, and make peace with being a second-class citizen. When your brilliant and fearless leaders are shot and killed in broad daylight, and your government, to whom you pay taxes, is complicit in those assassinations. How did your people have the audacity to create your own schools, civil rights organizations, businesses, fraternities, sororities, baseball leagues, schools, places of worship, and liberation movements, fighting for your right to be and to breathe? Despite attempts to crush your spirit, voice, and artistry, how did you create some of this nation's most poignant and powerful music? Spirituals, gospel, blues, jazz, rock and roll, don't get it twisted, funk, R&B, hip hop, and house, and if we're talking in a Pan-African sense, reggae and Afro beats as well. Despite 400 years of lynch mobs, church bombings, violent voter suppression, and conspiracy to make you a permanent underclass, how did you become teachers, artists, inventors, authors, business owners, attorneys, judges, mayors, and in one historical instance, the President and First Lady of these United States? How is that possible? If you find yourself grappling with these questions, these really hardcore questions, you're in good company. Because people like Ivy Wells, some of the people I see on this wall here, Marcus Garvey, Ella Baker, Malcolm X, Dr. King, Nina Simone, and countless others whose names we'll never know, grappled with those same questions I just asked you. Different generations, different ideologies, different perspectives, but the same core questions and the same willingness to answer and address those questions. The answer, brothers and sisters, is history. History satisfies every one of those questions that I gave you. History empowers us to assert and preserve our humanity. History provides us with documented records of our contributions: culture, science, math, law, music, or what have you. History provides evidence and allows us to challenge and to hold accountable for institutions, including banks, insurance companies, and yes, some of our top universities who benefited from the slave labor of our ancestors. It gives evidence and a record. And perhaps most importantly, history provides us with blueprints, templates, specific methods and systems and tactics and strategies that people used to survive recessions, depressions, and transgressions in this country, and to empower and sustain ourselves way before food stamps, government grants, scholarships, bank loans, Wi-Fi, ChatGPT, and artificial intelligence. One person who understood the power of history, perhaps more than most, was a man named Carter G. Woodson. And I want you to understand, Carter G. Woodson was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. This is a man whose parents, both of them, were enslaved. This man started high school at 20 years of age. Why? Because he had to work in the coal mines and farms of West Virginia to take care of his family. This is who we're celebrating today. He went on, however, with making no excuses, and earned his PhD in history at Harvard University. And he did it in 1912. He did it less than 50 years after slavery through the 13th Amendment was officially ended. Think about that. Woodson understood that the proper investigation and understanding of our history would not just cultivate black pride, it would help us heal from the psychological damage of being told you are nothing, have nothing, can be nothing. He understood that history could sustain us economically. He understood that history could help us mobilize politically. And he was so dedicated to history that he created institutions to make sure that our history would never die. He created the Association for the Study of, back then, Negro History, now called African American History. And then in 1926, as has been stated, he created Negro History Week. And I should say, as a quick caveat, to clarify any misconception, no white person did not create Black History Month. Carter G. Woodson created, and Gerald Ford in 1976, which was America's bicentennial, did a whole congressional sort of program and said, we should recognize the month as Black History Month. But way before he did that, Black fraternities, sororities, colleges, and people in neighborhoods all over the country celebrated Black History Month for the entire month of February. So I just want to clear that up. No, it wasn't put in the shortest and coldest month of the year as a spiteful measure. Carter G. Woodson put it in February, the second week, to honor two people who he thought were important to Black liberation in his way of thinking. One of them was Abraham Lincoln, and the second was Frederick Douglass, the great abolitionist, women's rights advocate, ran away from slavery and became one of the greatest orators, right, and abolitionists. So I just want to clear that up because I hear that said a lot. And every time I hear that, I cringe. That we give that attribution to somebody that didn't deserve it. That's Carter G. Woodson's work, and he deserves that. Listen to this quote from Carter G. Woodson and think about how he understood the importance of history and the value of it. If a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition, it becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world. It stands in danger, listen, of being exterminated. And it loses its power to shape its own destiny. So this means that for him, Black history wasn't just about giving really nice papers at conferences, t-shirts and posters. He's saying this is a tool of our empowerment, and it's literally a matter of life or yeah. Now, you might be wondering, okay, Agyei, I hear you, but why are you so fired up and getting emotional? Why are you up here talking about Black history? What's this mean to you? And I would gladly answer that even though I asked it for you. For me, Black History Month is not a side interest, a hobby, something I look at occasionally. You know, I wait till February 1st, put on my dashiki, say Black Power. No. Black history, for me, is part of who I am. It's part of who I am. It is central to my role as an Africana Studies scholar and historian. It undergirds the work I do as a community organizer and teaching young activists how to be better activists and organizers. It's central to the work I do as a public school educator and a founder of a public school, which, by the way, is probably 10 minutes from here, 169 3rd Avenue, Knowledge and Power Preparatory Academy. You see, when I was growing up, in my household, my father had a small little home library, maybe 20 books, and he would pull them out, read something. What do you think about that? What's your thoughts? You agree with that? What do you think he's saying? Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, you go on, name it. African history, ancient African history, African liberation movement, Black power, civil rights. This is the home I grew up in. So I didn't get it in the classroom, I'm proud to say. I didn't get it on the block, I didn't get it from a friend or a professor, I got it right at home. I remember sitting with him on Saturdays. I don't know if you all remember Like It Is, by Gil Noble, rest in power to him. And he would have some of our best and brightest leaders, intellectuals, creatives, artists, and soaking that up like a sponge. Like, I love this stuff. And these experiences lit a fire in me. As a little boy, you know, I knew as a little boy, one day, I'm not gonna be maybe like them, but I'm going to do something to help my people, unashamedly and unapologetically. So it made sense that years later, when I went off to Syracuse University, in 1986, I became a student leader and activist. It made sense. I got involved in campus and community politics, joined the Student African American Society, and eventually became its president. And in the 1988-99 school year, we led a year-long campaign to rebuild and strengthen and refurbish our, by then, dilapidated African American Studies Department. Notice, history is a common theme. It was the repository, after all, of Black history on the campus. It's the place that students went to learn knowledge of self, the culture, ancient Africa, right? Political and sociological sort of situations going on and how they could get involved. But it was underfunded, understaffed, and kind of treated like an afterthought, like a footnote of history. So we did what any self-respecting people would do. We organized a strategic campaign, very intense, I might say, a protest for that entire year, disrupting business as usual on that campus, to put it mildly, and forcing administrators to take our demands seriously. History. I would kind of get into specifics of some of our rather militant, if I could be honest, and aggressive tactics. But we are in a courtroom after all. I don't know if the statute of limitations will cover me. And I don't know if we have any prosecutors up in here, so some things I'm gonna keep a little close to chest. Anyway, by the end of that academic year, Syracuse University agreed to all 13 of our demands. African American Studies Department completely refurbished, library restored and expanded, study abroad program begins in Kenya after we graduated those days. This stuff didn't happen immediately, right? Our community folk art gallery tripled in size and was housed in a state-of-the-art facility with auditoriums and classrooms. Beautiful, I went to see it and blew my mind away. More faculty were hired, Black faculty. More Black students recruited and admitted. And all this was strategized, led, negotiated by 18 to 22-year-old Black students. With the help we had Latino students rocking with us. We had other students down with us now. We had community groups. We had professors in different departments that supported us. Which is why when they tried to kick me out of school, and they had a hearing, and they had a big hearing composed of graduate students, faculty, other student leaders, and community leaders in Syracuse, nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. So that meant charges dropped. And they didn't show up accidentally or incidentally. They didn't show up because we've been meeting with them for that whole year, developing capacity, building relationships, telling them our issues, and they were in support. This is all history. And I'm proud to say many of those students back in 86, well, this would have been 88, 89, are now about 56, 57 years old, and they are accomplished attorneys, judges, teachers, professors, authors, news reporters, anchor people, community organizers, and ministers, all in their own way, working to empower other people. As a matter of fact, there's a brother in this audience right now that was there. He was a member of the Student African American Society. He was at some of those protests. He was fighting on behalf of students getting things that he knew we wouldn't enjoy, that we didn't get to see, but to make sure that upcoming generations would get it. I remember he was pledging Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Oh, shit. And that's history, because it's the first Black fraternity in the country, founded at Cornell University in 1906. He was back then fighting with other students for Black studies. These days, I understand he's taking his fight to courtrooms, and he fights for his clients as a criminal defense attorney, and I hear that he's one of the best in the game. He's also made history, because I understand he's the first Black attorney elected as president of the Bergen County Bar Association. Am I right, Jim? You're right. Okay, just want to make sure. And he's a mentor. He doesn't keep all that to himself. He shares that with younger, upcoming attorneys. He was just telling me on a phone call, he's seeing a young guy that he's been mentoring, and he's blossoming how good he feels. That's the spirit of Carter G. Woodson. That's what he was hoping Black History Month would create, that type of spirit. I'm talking about none other than the famous, or depending who you talking to, infamous Jason Ford. Let's give him a hand. These experiences taught me, it taught me we can't just document our history, we gotta study it. We can't just study our history, we gotta teach it. We can't just teach our history, we gotta celebrate it. We can't just celebrate our history, we have to make it. We have to see ourselves as people who can make history. Now this has nothing to do with me bragging. This is not about being arrogant for people who don't feel the spirit I'm coming in. I'm saying that this has everything to do with the power of history. It is a living, breathing thing, and if we understand and utilize it, it can change our lives. History is power. It's a tool, a shield, and when necessary, it's a formidable weapon when we have to fight against racism, white supremacy. Now, this brings me to why I'm here, really, I think, as I see it today. Right now, in 2026 is a very critical time. Would you agree? Yes. Okay, it's not a figment of my imagination. No. Okay. Black History Month events like this and others all throughout the city have a real and measurable impact. They matter, and Black History matters, and Black History Month matters. Because we live in a society, can I keep it real for a minute? We live in a society where many people idolize Black entertainers, cheer for Black athletes, adore Black music, wear Black fashion, use Black Satan. You know what I'm saying, son? Word. We vibing right now, son. You're chill. Do Black dances, but don't always value Black people. Isn't that a weird contradiction? Black History Month exposes those contradictions and challenges them. It reminds us of who we are, first and foremost, and it reminds other people of who we are. It's kind of like you see a guy on the street, and he's cracked out, messed up, scars, dirty, bent over, and your little kid says, "Dad, what happened to that guy? Look at him, he's upon these sticks," and you gotta say, "Well, that's him now." 40 years ago, that brother was the man. He started this, he did this, he contributed, he was a philanthropist, but he got old, he got caught up in some things, right? History allows you to let people know, don't think, because some of us got cracked up, cracked out, was doing things that got us in these courts, in criminal courts, and all types of stuff. Don't think, don't sleep on us now. Don't forget who we are and who we've been in this country. Our struggle has not only benefited us. I want to make it clear, what we do has impact on other people as well. And don't forget who we are, and that's what history does. Even when we muck up, like your uncle that's drunk at the family get-together every year, or the cousin that can't edit what she says, she curses it in the kids, and say, go kids. Don't forget who they are, and what they've been and what they've done. We all slip and fall, but we are walking miracles, and we need to really appreciate that. Or, as the great poet and philosopher Biggie Smalls put it, if you don't know, now you know. That's history. If you don't know, you go to the library and find out who we are, who we've been. And it's precisely this reason that Black history has that power to inspire pride, give us agency and voice, and take political action. But there's some people that feel threatened by people knowing their history. So threatened that today we're witnessing active efforts to erase or marginalize Black people's history and other people's history. Images and information about key Black historical figures have been removed from federal websites, fam, and landmarks. The White House's website has a website history section, which typically included detailed information about certain Black historical figures and movements and their contributions. Deleted, family. National recognition of Martin Luther King Day and Juneteenth has been deprioritized in ways that should shock and disturb you, Black or not. In some states, government offices that previously closed for these holidays are now expected to remain open. In some states, public school teachers are threatened and punished with getting fired for teaching history lessons that involve elements of Black history. That's ridiculous. Particularly when you consider how much we've done to build this country. That's really crazy. Once you erase the history, guess who comes next? We get erased. You have to stigmatize somebody first so that you can justify mistreating them. We see that all throughout history. Here's the question you should be asking: why do we see these attempts? Why are people trying to erase Black history and stigmatize certain leaders and make you not want to listen and follow? Why? You should be asking, why is this happening? And the reason, is it incidental? Is it accidental? Or is it because, got you. I want you to get back to work. I want you to pay the bills, support your families. So we're going to wrap it up. So let me just say this. The history is very clear that regardless of attempts to besmirch our reputations, to make us look ugly and violent and incorrigible, we are beautiful people. So please don't let me get in the way. Thank you all. Thank you.